Hey guys, I'm really excited because we have one of my rock star clients, Marina, here. And she's here to talk about her well, actually, it was like 4 weeks where she created all the amazing results. So, Marina and I started working together about 6 weeks ago. And within the first 4 weeks of us start working together, she booked $13,500 in sales. And I think it was 8.5 in cash, right?
Eight, what was it? No, I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so it was
8.5. 8.5.
like $8.5 thousand in cash that was in her bank account. So we're gonna talk a little bit about how she created that and what happened for her to create that. So for your entertainment. So Marina,
Uh,
tell me a little bit about what you were experiencing before we started working together.
oh my God. Can I swear on this? I was experiencing what I would call a shit show. I had worked with a lot of different mentors in the past, and I was like in a very depressed state from like trying too many other things that were either too much spirituality oriented or too much strategy oriented. And I've, tried these approaches that were so polarizing. And it was about like 2 years that I've been working at this, and my highest month in my business was like 42, like not even $5,000 total. And even that, it felt like kind of a fluke manifestation too. Like I was just, how did I do that? So before you and I started working together, I was experiencing like relationship turmoil. I was mid relocation to a beautiful property in North Maui. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's like a bird sanctuary and a garden. It's 11 acres right on the ocean front. And I was broke. I had overdrawn bank accounts, and I knew in order for me to get myself out of funk that I had to like employ my everything. So somehow magically out of my butt, after having applied for business loans and kept getting denied for each one because my credit score was also shot. It was like 500 or something like that. Um, I magically got a business loan, and I was like, I knew that I just needed to go ahead and do something else and do something new. And I believe you and I have been talking before too. There was a couple of things that you have said that really kind of, sparked me. One was about, how you handle like things like relationship turmoils and what that means for somebody's transformation, and how you handle clients with unconditional love. And you've always been that way to me even before we started working. So those were some of the things that I was experiencing. So I was almost like leaning on you in a sense. I was like, oh God, I'm like going through hell. I was like depressed. I had body aches for about a week. I literally could not even get out of bed. I was so depressed that I had to like get myself up to go take a shower. Yeah, it was nuts. It was nuts. A lot has happened in the last 6 weeks. But that was my reality when you and I started, or like right before you and I started working together.
Wow. That's a lot. That is like I knew something,
Yeah.
but I did not know the extent of it. And I'm really glad that we started working together to shift all of that. And I love what you said about because the whole depression thing is a thing that I see a lot in creatives, especially before they start working with me, where they literally can't even get out of bed to shower, let alone run a six-figure business, right? A multi-six-figure business. So I'm really glad that things have shifted a lot since then. You created those sales, you created you called in these amazing clients. Tell me a little bit about the process of you doing that, from you going from that point to like 4 weeks later, creating those, what was it, like 3 sales that got you to that $13,000 booked. So tell me a little bit about what that process was like for you.
At first it was like it felt like swimming against the current initially. There was so much resistance like before I started working with you, and you and I had like, you remember, it feels like such a distant memory, but you and I had like that brawl. I was in so much resistance just because of like other mentors and not getting results and stuff like that. anxious and I was so indecisive and flaky, and I was a pain in the butt. Like, and I know I was a pain in the butt for you. So initially it felt like swimming against the grain initially, because I felt like I really didn't trust myself. I really was just like, oh, is this actually going to work? And then so some of the things that we did, and obviously, of course, your approach and your unconditional loving approach of just guiding me through those emotional and turbulent times, like you have a very grounded energy. And I come from a very like spiritual type background, and you just like ground a lot of that knowledge into now and action and business and like, come on, let's get shit done. So one of the first things that we did was get clarity on what is it that's my brilliance that I could see for myself, that for me was just like really, I'm like, oh yeah, well, totally. And you're like, well, that's actually like a big thing. Like one of the things you said, like you influence people into action. And I'm an avid snowboarder. Like I love the outdoors. And I was like, yeah, wow, I do. Like, even if people don't work with me, I feel like they just get this inspiration to like send it to do stuff. And I've been told that, but it's just like, it wasn't something that I saw as a gift. And now I'm beginning to see that with my clients. The other thing that you have really like pointed out is my gift of like translation and words, and how I'm able to translate these esoteric concepts, because I work with spiritual entrepreneurs mostly who have a hard time pulling their spiritual concepts into the 3D and applying them into this grounded human reality, right? Mm-hmm. So you pointed out like my gift of translation, and like being able to see that brilliance initially, like really was like, wow, oh my gosh, I didn't know that was something that was really genius. And at first I had like resistance to even owning it. You're like, trust me, it's like, it's a big deal. And when I started to own it, I got validation from the very people who are like, yeah, I can't do that. I can't do what you do. I can't do that whole translation thing. So there was others, but I think the biggest first step was like getting clarity on like that brilliance and seeing those things that may not be a big deal to me, that are a big deal for the other. So then we began like shifting, how can we take these kinds of like brilliance things and put them into the aspect of the other. And we created an offer. We created like, well, at first we created a person. We created a person as to like who would be the best person to benefit from these gifts. So we came up with this, it's not a client avatar, because that's not what we do, but more of like a personality traits and attributes of a person like that. But more than anything, we've really divulged like, what are their challenges? Like, what are they really like sitting there begging for? And it really made me feel like even more confidence and validation, like I am needed. I am required.
I got in my ass and people need me.
Yeah, and it felt good. So by divulging this kind of like, the ideal person, and like making a match with like, these are your gifts and presents from God and universe, and these are the things that you do naturally well in human realm, and these are the people who would benefit. So let's go ahead and bridge the gap and create an offer. So then you help me create an offer, and that was, I think, the biggest thing that we spent the most amount of time upon. And I think that was the most important one, because once we have created this process by which to take somebody on, especially a spiritual entrepreneur, like whenever I have my sales conversations now, I feel so confident, and for the most part, I feel like I don't really get objections. Like whenever I describe the process for them, I see right through their pain, because now I've studied this person, and the more I study them, the more of them come along. It's like both on paper and in manifestation, right? One of my clients actually did appear out of nowhere. That was really cool. I'll tell you about that in just a sec. So yeah, so that was I think the biggest thing that really kind of cemented it, is like really hammering out this journey and continuously studying it, and continuously like making sure that how is every step of this process going to make sure that my client gets results, so they trust in me, so that I trust in myself, and then it's like better, higher frequency, high integrity, high currency work for everybody involved. And what we're exchanging here is like so much more valuable than the money amount that we exchange. And it helped me feel really in integrity, because that was another one of my like resistances, is after being not subjected, because that sounds like, after being privy and exposed to coaches that take less than integrity approaches, more kind of manipulative and more that pry on people's pain instead of like looking at them as a human who has potential. Like I think I was so shaken about the whole integrity thing. So by really, really hammering out this process, not only helped me feel like confident internally, but externally, it also made my marketing more clear. It made my engagements with people more clear. My inbox has cleaned up from people just wanting to connect and collaborate and have seen me as like taking a stance as somebody who can help them with their marketing and messaging. And additionally, my sales calls, for the most part, have become fairly objectionless, except for like, okay, well, I don't have the money right now, but I will get it on this time, instead of like, oh, well, I have to go consult my cat or something.
I need to ask my guides. I know that's a big one in the spiritual community.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the entirety of the journey as far as like what we did. I mean, there was other emotional things that I have gone through as far as like changing emotionally into becoming this person throughout our time together, because I feel like a lot of your guidance is that, you're not necessarily sitting here hammering out the process with me the whole time, but you're focusing on like, how will Marina, who makes $20,000 a month, how will she facilitate this? How does she want to facilitate this in the most efficient way? You know what I mean? So I think that's the other part of the process that has happened over the last 6 weeks. I feel unrecognizable to myself from then. I feel like a boss ass bitch. So yeah.
My intention was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to make a note about the integrity thing that you said, because I know that a lot of people, they want to charge high end prices for their services or their offers, and the whole thing is like, okay, it's not just about slapping a price and like slapping a sticker price on something and saying go out and sell this. It's actually about making sure that your offer is worth like 10 times more whatever 4 or 5 figure price tag you put on it, so that when you go out and sell it, you're like, holy shit, like if you're not buying this, you're crazy, like what are you doing? And the way to do that is through hammering out this process to ensure that your clients get results. It's really big for me. Like I care about my clients results, because that builds your confidence as a coach, for you to see exactly how these people are going to get amazing results with you. So I'm really glad that because that was my intention, and I'm really glad that it worked out that way for you. What do you think is different about the work that I do from what you've experienced before?
There's quite a few things. Quite a few things. So in regards to like business and marketing, I feel like the kind of guidance that I've experienced so far has been very like prelim, in a sense of like, here's how you lead generate. You do all these things. You make a challenge, you post, whatever. Cool, I got leads now. What the hell do I do, right? And then the other aspect is, here's how you sell. Okay, I sell. And I have had a sales gig before. I worked with you where I was selling for another mentor. So I felt like I've learned a lot of sales skills. But the biggest thing is like, can you deliver? Can you deliver your clients exceptional results? Are you going to be matched really well with the clients that you work with? And is it going to be pleasurable for you? So I think that's one of the biggest differences and focuses, is you go so much deeper in the sense of like really creating those personality matches. Because like throughout our time together, like I've had people on calls who perhaps were ready to pay and I denied them, because I was like, you know what, this doesn't match my ideal client person, and before like 4 weeks ago, I came from the school of thought of like, well, why didn't you sell them? That was sales, that was money. And that was the only thing that I felt like a lot of people like kind of have this instant gratification of like, just get me the sales.
Mm-hmm.
And with you, you really focus on integrity and making sure that the client and, you know, me is matched well, so that we can create amazing things, so that I can facilitate them in the best way with all of my gifts and everything that I have to offer. And on a more like interpersonal and deeper level, as I mentioned like before, you focus a lot on identity. You focus a lot on like becoming that person. So a lot of the work that you do, you know, and supporting um, me through like moving through resistance of like pitching certain people or wording things in a certain way or taking a more authoritative stance from somebody who is a business owner and who is more than qualified. You like you facilitate becoming that person through your guidance. The other thing that on my end that was very different is, so I've come from, you know, like the spiritual background where a lot of like spiritual entrepreneurs almost like enjoy, I guess, delays. And I was one of those people, you know, and you kind of helped snap me out of it with, oh, well, this doesn't feel good because my angel person guide is saying this or that or whatever. And mind you, like I have a spiritual practice that I do not just once, but like maybe a few times throughout the day, depends on the day. Like I go and I do my energetic adjustments and calibrations, and I talk to my spirit guides and my angel guides and whatever. But what you have really helped was eliminate the delays and actually create authority with these spirit guides, because they respond to me, not the other way around, which is what a lot of the spiritual community feels and thinks, like that they're at their mercy, that they're at the mercy of this river of spirituality that just takes them wherever the hell, instead of being like, I'm getting in this raft and I'm going to kayak through this white water and it's going to be amazing and I'm just going to send it. And that is the biggest, like, so like I said, I'm like an avid outdoors person, and I've had these like polarizing schools of thought where, you know, my spiritual self has to be a certain way, and then my outdoor like snowboarding action taking, like let's send it, let's go, also is like the polar way. You've taught me how to combine the two and actually like lead with that in my message to the people that I work with. And really, I call it coalesce. That's like my message, is to coalesce these two energies. And you really help me like see and embody that both of these aspects are working for you. There's no separation, because in the spiritual community, there's this huge separation in polarity between how your mind feels, like, oh, just tell your mind to shut up and follow your intuition. Are we still here? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Like, tell your mind to shush and just follow your intuition. And what you really helped me see is that like every single decision, whether it was made from the left or the right hemisphere of my brain, has still led me exactly to where I need to be, and that I need to not overthink it, because that's the whole notion of it in the first place. Like you really gave the importance and the reverence back to the brain and the logic side of it, because a lot of spiritual people like myself have almost been like polarized, like, oh, ew, strategy, oh, ew, logic, or whatever. And you help like really help me come together into this person, because that is who I am. Like I am spiritual, and I like stage my house and I turn on techno while I do it or whatever, you know. And so you really helped embody that. So I feel like that's the biggest difference, is like you work a lot on identity, you work a lot on pulling every aspect of the individual, you work a lot on not leaving out necessarily the intuitive guidance, but you really put the person in charge, and you make them feel like, you know what, you're in charge of your own everything, and there's no spirit or other dimension that's going to be in charge of anything right here, right now. And I just got chills saying that.
I like want to cry. Like you've changed and grown so much, and I'm so happy. And like we're gonna continue this work together, and you're just gonna blossom into even more. And I'm really excited to see the next iteration of Marina, because that's gonna be So what would
Yeah.
you say to somebody who's considering working with me?
Do it, absolutely do it. Like, why would you hesitate, I mean, like, when you showed up, it was interesting because I was like debating between like other coaches and whatever, and you showed up at this like perfect time, and it ended up being absolutely perfect. I'd say do it. You're like so highly adaptive to like other people. You have like such a good grasp and understanding of such a wide variety of people. You're able to like empathetically almost like know ideal client challenges before like we even do any kind of market research. I mean, you have this like really powerful intuitive sense that perhaps you obviously like don't really lead with that, but you have it. So I'd say whoever is on the fence, like, do it. I feel like you adapt so well, but you also create this like take no shit type of container that is, like, we get shit done. Like, we get shit done. So if anybody like wants to get shit done and get it done quickly, I'd say, like, why are you even hesitating? So
I've got nothing else to say to that. Like, she's right. I don't leave room for lack of results, that's for sure. So if you work with me, the one thing you're gonna get is results, but I'm not going to sacrifice you for results. Like, we're gonna bring all of you into the life that you want to be creating. So I'm really glad. I'm just so grateful to have clients like you, Marina, because I just this is a celebration call, and she's been like talking me up and everything, and I'm really grateful for it. And I agree, I am the shit. And this is a co-creative process, and Marina is the shit. Every time we have a session, like, what I love about Marina, and all of my clients do this really, and it's so amazing, is I will give you the guidance, I will give you the specific thing, and you'll take it, and this is why I specifically work with people with creative minds. You'll take it, and then you'll do something, you'll just add your own self to it and do something completely unique and amazing with it, which then creates the amazing results. It's like we're adding to each other instead of like removing, or like I'm like saving you from yourself or anything. It's a very co-creative experience, which allows me to just love what I do. Like, when I see a message from you guys, like, I'm just like, yay, my clients. Woohoo, my favorite people, yay. So it's, yes, I am an amazing coach. I am one of a kind, actually. And my clients are also very unique and one of a kind. And the thing I love about the most about you guys, because I know it's not, it like, she made it sound really great at first. It's hell. It was absolute hell working together at first for her. Like, I was fine for her. It was
I
crazy.
mean, one of the sessions, I think it was like, sorry to interrupt, but 3 weeks in, I spent like a good half hour to 45 minutes on our session just crying, thinking like, fuck this shit. Like, I like literally was like, this nothing is ever going to work.
The funny thing is, like, the next day you booked the sale after that crying session. Like, we cleared all that, we talked about it. Okay, cool, let's get this done. And then the next day you got your first sale, and you're like, oh shit, that worked out. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of, am I doing this right? Like, is this right? Is this really right for me? Et cetera, et cetera. It's gonna feel weird. It's gonna feel like it's not you, et cetera, because you're learning this new version of you, right? And I'm really grateful that I have clients like you who, even through the doubt and through the resistance, you keep pushing and keep going because you know you have something bigger waiting on the other side of all that shit show and the shit storms. So I wanna celebrate you, Marina, not just for the results that you've gotten, but for everything you've created for yourself over the last 6 weeks. Because I'm not gonna sit here and pretend it was easy for you, because that would actually be taking away from everything you've done. And I know that it wasn't easy, and it's not easy for anyone really, but you did it and you went through it and you renewed. And we're gonna keep doing amazing. Oh my god, I'm so excited for what we're gonna continue to create together. And you guys will see Marina again in another celebration celebration video, because she's gonna change the fucking world, that's for sure.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate it too. Because the other thing I wanted to add is like, I felt like oh gosh, is this me? And I felt like limited. Remember, I think like from our first initial session, like, what is this coach telling me to do again? No, I had like so much resistance. I mean, that would be an understatement. I'm surprised you stuck around with me and like gave me the chance. So I want to thank you for having that kind of compassion, to hold that kind of space, to really like I feel like a child that was throwing a tantrum, or like a bronco that just needed to be turned out to the pasture, and you just watch the horse run around and buck, and you're like, all right, are you ready now? Like, let's throw the saddle on and let's go for a ride. Like, you know what I mean? So I really appreciate that you held that kind of space, truly, and thank you. Yeah, it's been crazy. And now, like, my relationship has improved, and now like my identity has shifted as far as like how I word and pitch people. My confidence has shifted, my anxiety is like mostly gone. Yeah, there's been a lot. So I'm super grateful that you kind of stumbled across my path. Like, when I was considering doing something else with that money, you were just like, hi, I know you want me because I'm awesome. And I'm like, do I really? And I'm like, yeah, I do.
And that was the best decision we made in a while. Um, so yeah, for those of you, as Marina said, for those of you who are on the fence and you're like, I don't know, and you're like clutching on, you're like, I don't know. I know that sometimes real change and real change can seem almost a little bit scary sometimes, especially when you've been experiencing the same shit show for like 2 or 3 years, like Marina has. And I promise you, I promise you that it's worth it. So I'll put my application link in the description. You guys can go ahead and fill that application out. And I'll reach out to you if I think we're a good fit, and we'll get it rolling for you too. Because $13,000 booked is not. We haven't stopped there. We're heading for 20K cash months now. And you should hop on the train before we leave. Before we leave the station. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your time,
Thank
Marina.
you.
And I will talk to everybody else later.